Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and start going over this now that I got a little bit more participation up there. And shrink this down and let's see what we've got if we need to make any corrections. All right, so glucose. Yes, glucose is a simple sugar. It is a single sugar, so it's only a single kind of ring. So that makes it a monosaccharide, mono meaning single or one. And your body absolutely needs this. This is the most important carbohydrate for our body because our body needs it to form ATP. So everything, all those carbs that we eat eventually get broken down into glucose. Lactose is a disaccharide. This one is found in cow's milk. Disaccharide meaning that it's made up of two sugar circles, sugar rings linked together. Remember, monosaccharide was just one. Cellulose is, again, another word for cellulose is fiber, and you are correct. Fiber is found in plant walls. It's something that is not easily digested by humans. Again, it's made up of that different glucose. It's made up of beta glucose, as well as it's just very, very stacked together. So it's really hard for humans to digest, but it is important to still eat because it actually helps to move food along faster, because since you don't have to digest it, your body doesn't have to work as hard on it, and so that helps you to go number 2 better. So if you're having trouble going to the bathroom, make sure you're getting your fiber. Starch. Starch is a plant carbohydrate that we can, in fact, digest. Well, right? It's found in wheat, which is why it's in our breads and our pastas. It's found in potatoes. Starchy vegetables have starch in them. So this is an energy storage polysaccharide in plants that we can digest. Remember, starch does have some branching. It also has alpha glucose, which makes it a little bit easier for us. Glycogen, on the other hand, is what animals or humans make. So this is the last type. This is our storage molecule that we use for our excess glucose, and we form it in the human liver. Looks like we got those all correct. Remember, if you were just copying people, don't just copy people. I want you to make sure that you are really practicing it yourself, because these are things that you need to know, and other people can't help you on assignments. So make sure that you're really understanding it yourself. So taking a look here again, monosaccharides are single rings. Examples are glucose, fructose, and galactose. Disaccharides are made up of two sugar rings connected together. So for example, glucose and glucose together make maltose. Galactose and glucose together make lactose, and glucose and fructose together make sucrose. So those are examples of our simple sugars. And taking a look here, here are our more complex carbohydrates. Again, cellulose made up of that beta glucose and stacked together so we don't easily break it down. Starch is found in plants. Again, this is, has more branches. It's made up of alpha glucose, which is easier for us to break down. And obviously, the glycogen, that's what we make in animals, and you and I are part of the animal kingdom. It's made up of alpha glucose, again, easy to digest, and it's even more highly branched, which means that it's very easy for our bodies to store glucose this way and then to access that glucose when we need it. Great job, everybody. This is a reminder, class sessions are recorded and distributed for learning purposes that are listed here. As always, be respectful, appropriate, and participate. Please do not share contact or social media info during classes for your own security reasons. Hi, Jalen. Welcome to class. We only have 4 school days left of trimester 1, and then courses are over. You can see here that you do have next Wednesday off for Veterans Day. So you have Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Those are your 4 remaining school days. The Friday the 13th is the last day of the trimester. The trimester closes at 11:59 p.m. We do not accept assignments after this final deadline. So make sure that everything is done by this day. Your final exam will be on Tuesday the 10th. All right, so that'll be your final exam, and then you'll have a couple days if you need to try it again or if you need to finish it, and it will be due on Friday. Please be aware that we will be zeroing out your entire grade book on Monday, which means that your final exam will be zeroed out before you get your final exam. I know that sucks because you're like, Mrs. Larkin, why do I have a 0 when the assignment hasn't even started? The reason we zero everything out on Mondays, even future assignments though, is because that way your grade can only go up. So if on Monday, when everything's zeroed out, if you have a 60% or higher, you have officially passed the class. Give me a smiley face if that makes sense. Smiley face if that makes sense. So again, on Monday, we're going to zero out the final exam before the final exam even occurs. But if it's zeroed out and you have higher than a 60%, you've officially passed. Okay? If on Monday you haven't passed, then that's totally fine because Tuesday, that's when you'll actually take the final exam. Your grade can only go up after everything's zeroed out, and so you will be able to see your grade go up and you will be able to see yourself pass. So again, there's only a few days left of the quarter, of the trimester. Make sure you're getting stuff done. Obviously, take advantage of the weekends and of Veterans Day if you need to. Today we're going to go ahead and do our last assignment before our final exam. So we're going to be taking a look at, at proteins. I don't know why this says nucleic acids. This should say proteins. We're going to take a look at proteins in depth today and complete the 6H assignment. So we've been taking a look at organic chemistry. We took a look at our macromolecules, functional groups, and now we're taking a closer look at, closer look at carbohydrates, and we're also going to take a closer look at proteins. Those are the two main ones that I think are important to take a closer look at. All right, so today we should be able to identify the components of an amino acid and identify how many amino acids there are, describe how combinations of amino acids can result in different proteins, and provide examples and functions of various proteins. We are going to be completing the 6H assignment. I'm going to go ahead and send that link to you right now. And then I need green checks for everyone. Once you have your 6H assignment open and ready to go, I'm going to give you 45 seconds to work on that. I'll set up our check-in room while I wait for that. Green checks, everybody. Remaining to give me a green check once you have your assignment open and ready to go, or you're taking pictures, or it's opening, it's just slow. Opening and slow, you can still give me a green check. 20 seconds. Jalen, Jose, and Kyrie. And 10 seconds remaining, Jalen and Kyrie. Green checks, please. Thank you, Jalen. Kyrie, you're my last one. Kyrie, green checks. 5 seconds to open up your assignment. All right, Kyrie, I'm going to go ahead and check in with you in the check-in room, and let's go ahead and move on, everybody. All right, so what I want you to do, grab your whiteboard tools. Perfect, thank you, Kyrie. Grab your whiteboard tools, and I want you to box the foods on the board that you think contain a lot of protein. This is kind of a review from when we did our overview of proteins. So go ahead, start working on the board. Tell me what kinds of foods have protein. If a bodybuilder is like, whoa, I really want to increase my muscles, what are they going to eat? What are they going to eat? Perfect. I see Ayla, Amy, Ryan working on the board. I see Christine and Jose participating. I see, let's see here, Carla working up on the board. Let's get some more participation. Thank you, Christine. Looking good, everybody. Awesome. All right, let me go ahead and pause our tools and take a look at what we got up here. So a couple of us circled fruit. Fruit is actually not very protein heavy. Fruit is actually, remember, is made up of fructose, and fructose is what type? Is that a carbohydrate, protein, lipid, or nucleic acid? Everybody in the chat box, fructose sugar, is that a carbohydrate, protein, lipid, or nucleic acid? Tell me in the chat box. Awesome, I see Christine working. Remember, our three groups are carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and nucleic acids. What is fructose sugar? Again, this is the topic that we just reviewed at the start of class. Fructose sugar, is that a carb, a lipid, a protein, or a nucleic acid? To wait, the more time we're going to go into passing period and the less you're going to learn. So please participate. Fructose sugar, give me your best guess. Is that a carb, a lipid, a protein, or a nucleic acid? Thank you, Christine. I see a networking. Thank you. Yeah, so fructose sugar and fruit are actually carbohydrates. So these ones are actually carbohydrates. So yeah, things that are proteins definitely are going to be nuts. Nuts have a lot of protein in them. Eggs also have a lot of protein. The white part of an egg is almost entirely protein. It's a protein called albumin. Meat also has lots of protein as well because meat is made of muscle, and we'll learn a little bit later about how muscles have protein. Taking a look here, vegetable oil is kind of related to fat. So is that a carb, a lipid, a protein, or nucleic acid? What is vegetable oil? I see it networking. Tell me in the chat box, what is vegetable oil? Remember, it's kind of like a fat. Yeah, so this one's going to be lipids. Candy has sucrose sugar in it. So sucrose sugar, what is that? Everybody in the chat box, give me a C, an L, a P, or an N. Is it a carb, lipid, protein, or nucleic acid? Sucrose sugar, what will that one be? Thank you, Ayla. I see you working. Thank you. I see Christine working. I see Annette working. Yep, this one's a carbohydrate, right? We know all sugars are simple carbohydrates. Pasta and butter, or sorry, pasta is also a carbohydrate, right? This is made up of starch, right? Starch, which is a complex carb. Vegetables have a lot of fiber, so that's also actually a complex carb. And butter, don't forget, is also a fat, so this one is lipid. Go ahead and give me a smiley face, everyone, if you feel comfortable with this analysis. Again, eggs, nuts, and meat are protein. Fruit, candy, pasta, and vegetables are all different types of carbs. Vegetable oil and butter are lipids. Great job, everybody. All right, so what I want you to go ahead and take a look here is we have 4 shirts, 3 bottoms, and 2 pairs of shoes. How many outfits do you think we could make here? Go ahead and tell me in the chat box, or give me an example of an outfit that you can make here. So you can choose your outfit. How many outfits can you make, or what's an example of an outfit? Go ahead and tell me in the chat box. We have a Gryffindor shirt, Ravenclaw shirt, Slytherin shirt, and a Hufflepuff shirt. Got some shorts, some jeans, or a skirt. And we have either green shoes or red shoes. Give me an outfit in the chat box. What would be an example of an outfit that you could wear in the chat box? Ayla beginning to type. I see Jennifer beginning to type. What's an example combination for an outfit? Choose a shirt, choose a bottom, choose some shoes. Awesome, I see Ayla. Ayla trying to figure out how many you can make. Yeah, so an example would be like red shirts with pants and the red shoes. Sure, that's definitely one of those options. What other options do we have? Or do you have, how many do you think you could make? You can count them out. How many do you think you can make? Yeah, Jennifer, so green shirt, pants, and green shoes, that might be something that you would wear. Yeah, I'm Ravenclaw, so I would probably wear the blue shirt, probably the jeans as well, maybe the skirt. Every once in a while I wear the skirt. And then, I don't know, probably the red shoes. Probably the red shoes I feel like go better with the Ravenclaw shirt. All right, so in total though, you can make a lot of outfits, right? We can switch up the shirts, we can switch up the bottoms, we can switch up the shoes. Go ahead and give me a smiley face in the chat box if that makes sense, that you can make a lot of outfits here. Even with only 4 shirts, only 3 bottoms, only 2 pairs of shoes, you can make a lot of different outfits. Thank you, Ayla. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Annette, Jalen. Smiley faces, everyone, if you understand. Looking good. Let's go ahead and see how many we can actually make. So there is a calculation that you can actually do. You can actually multiply all of the number of shirts by the number of pants by the number of shoes. But I actually drew it out because I feel like that's a little bit easier to see. So you have your Gryffindor shirt. You could either choose pants, skirt, or shorts. And then depending on which one you choose, you can also choose green shoes, red shoes, green shoes, red shoes, green shoes, red shoes. So in total, for just the Gryffindor shirt, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options. Same thing for the Ravenclaw shirt, you have 6 options. Same thing for the Hufflepuff and for the Slytherin shirt. So in total, 6 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6, or 6 times 4, what do we get? Ayla actually already knew the answer to this. So what do we get when we do this? 4 different combinations. So 24 combinations. Again, the way that you could have done that mathematically is when you try to find combinations, you can multiply them together. So 4 shirts times 3 pants times 2 shoes would have been 4 times 3, which is 12, times the next 2, which is 24. So 24 combinations. So lots of different outfits that you can have, even with a small wardrobe. Now, what is that related to? Let's go ahead and take a look at this. So amino acids are the monomer for macromolecules. This is something that we already learned. Remember the macromolecule, which is also called a polymer, that's our protein. Okay, that's our organic group that we're taking a look at. But they're made up of monomers called amino acids. Now, this is the structure of a single amino acid. All amino acids have an amino group, and the way I remember that is the word amino group has the N right here, which stands for nitrogen. Smiley faces, if that makes sense. Amine actually means nitrogen. So this means nitrogen. All right. Sorry, yeah, give me a smiley face or a thumbs up if that makes sense. So that's how I remember that aminos have nitrogen. Aminos have nitrogen, has that N for nitrogen. Perfect, okay. Now, they also have a carboxyl group. Now, taking a look here, CARB, what does that look like? What element does CARB look like? Carb what? What element on the periodic table? Nope, not carbohydrate. Carbohydrate is a food group or a macromolecule. What element on the periodic table is that? Yeah, it's carbon. No worries, Christine. I know it's very easy to mix those up. So yeah, this is made up of carbon. carbon. And what do you think of when you see of oxy, OXY? What element does that look like? OXY looks like what element? Thank you, Christine. Yes, redeeming yourself. This looks like oxygen. So a carboxyl group has carbon and oxygen. So again, amino group has nitrogen, NH3+. Carboxyl group has CO2-. So you can see that here, an amino group and a carboxyl group, which literally looks like the word carbon and oxygen mixed together. Now, every amino group has these things, right? They all have an amino group. They all have a carboxyl group. They all have this hydrogen. The one thing that changes for them all is the R group. So R group is what's called a side chain, and this side chain changes for each amino acid. So there are 20 different amino acids, and there are 20 different R groups. Go ahead and give me a green check if you understand. There are 20 amino acids, and therefore 20 R groups. So there are 20 R groups. Green checks if you understand. Thank you, Annette. Thank you, Ayla. Thank you, Jalen, Jose, Christine. Green checks if you understand. Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Natalie. Again, there are 20 amino acids and therefore 20 different R groups or side chains that can change for each amino acid. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and do some checks for understanding. Oh, sorry, let me go ahead and show these to you. So these are the 20 amino acids. Again, you can see each of them has the same top. They all have the same amino group with the N. The nitrogen, they all have a hydrogen, and they all have the carboxyl group, the CO2. So every single one of these, the top looks identical, right? This looks the same as this, the same as this, so on and so forth. The only thing that changes is that R group, that side chain, which is highlighted. So this one, glycine has a hydrogen, alanine has a methane. Valine has three CHs. Cysteine has a carbon and a sulfur, right? So they have different side rings. Same thing down here. Histidine has a ring with some nitrogens. Let's see here. Tyrosine has a ring with an OH group, which is like our alcohol group. Okay. Arginine has this really long chain with some carbons and some nitrogens. So all of them, their side chains change for each amino acid. Let's make sure we really understand that. So first, I'm going to go ahead and grab your polling tools. Tell me how many amino acids are there? How many amino acids did we just take a look at? And generally, how many amino acids are there? A5, B10, C20, or D100? Generally, how many amino acids are there? Awesome. I see Annette. I see Ayla. I see Christine participating. I see Jose working, Kyrie working, Amy working. Go ahead, get your answers in the polling tools. Anne-Marie, Anthony, Jalen, Jennifer, Carla, Natalie, Ryan. How many amino acids are there? We saw it on the previous page. All right, looking good. Let me go ahead and publish these up on the board. And let's take a look here. Yeah, there are actually about 20 amino acids. There could be 21, 22, kind of depending on what you designate as an amino acid. But for the most part, we only ever talk about 20 amino acids. So that is going to be the answer for number 1. Give me a green check when you have this saved. You have 20 seconds to get that done. It's multiple choice. If I don't get your green check, I'll go ahead and check in with you. 20 seconds for number 1. Previous slide, because that's what we were discussing. So yeah, this is just something that we talked about, and then I was asking you to review. All right, Jalen, Jose, green checks. Jalen, Jose, green checks. Jalen, Jose, green checks for number 1. Thank you, Jalen. Jose. Hello, Jose, are you there? Green checks. Thank you. Moving on, everybody. All right, so what is this part of the amino acid structure called? It's the part that is NH3+. NH3+, is that the hydrogen? Sorry, let me get your polling tools. Use your polling tools. Is that A, the hydrogen, B, the amino group, C, the carboxyl group, or D, the side chain, the one with NH3? Remember, I gave you kind of a hint to remember which one this is. NH3, which one does that fall under? Is that the hydrogen, the amino, the carboxyl, or the side chain? Excellent. I see answers from Annette. I see Christine working. I see Ayla working. Remember, focus on what is the main element in this group. Awesome. I see Jennifer. I see Natalie. Let's get answers. Amy, Anne-Marie, Anthony, Jalen, Jose, Carla, Kyrie. What is the group called with the nitrogen NH3+? Awesome. Let me go ahead and publish those up on the board. Thank you for your participation, everybody. Looks like the majority of us are saying B, amino, and that is correct. Remember, I reminded you that the letter N is in amino. We obviously know it's not a hydrogen because we know what hydrogen is. But the letter N is in amino, which helps us to remember that this is an amino group with the nitrogen. All right, this is going to be number 2. Green checks for number 2. Oh, let me give you green checks. 15 seconds. Go, go, go. Anne-Marie, Annette, and Jennifer, green checks for number 2. Thank you, thank you. Jennifer, green checks for number 2. Thank you. Moving on. All right, let's go ahead and try the other part. So what is the other part called? Let me give you your pulling tools. The CO2 minus, what would that part be? Is that the A hydrogen, B amino group, C carboxyl group, or D side chain? What is the CO2 part called? Again, there's a hint in here. Just take a look at what is this made up of, and one of these groups looks a lot like the same word. Awesome. I see Annette, Ayla, Jose, and Christine participating. Thank you, Amy. Which group, which part of our amino acid is the CO2 minus called? Thank you. All right, let me go ahead and publish that up on the board. It looks like we're unanimously saying letter C, and I would agree. That is the carboxyl group. Again, we have that prefix of carbo, carb for carbon, and oxy for oxygen. Great job. This is number 3. Green checks for number 3. 20 seconds. Go, go, go. Green checks. Oh, let me give you polling tools. My bad. Go, go, go. The CO2 minus, the one with carbon and oxygen, is the carboxyl group. Looks like it looks. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and do our last polling tool here. I know this is a lot in a row. Which part of the amino acid changes for each type? We talked about how there are 20 types, so which part changes so that you have those 20 types? Is it A hydrogen, B amino, C carboxyl, or D the side chain? Go ahead and use your polling tools. What part changes for each type of amino acid? Is it the hydrogen, the amino group, the carboxyl group, or the side chain? Awesome. I see Jose up there first with an answer. I see Carla. Thank you. Get your answers in your polling tools. Thank you, Ayla. Thank you, Annette. I see Kyrie. I see Christine. Great job. Let me go ahead and publish those up on the board. And it looks like the majority of us are saying letter D, and that is correct. So remember the R is not a real element, right? R is not a real element. The reason we use the letter R is because that can represent anything. So the R is our side chain. Again, we talked about how there are 20 of them for each of the 20 amino acids. So you need to have 20 different side chains for 20 different amino acids. This is number 4, green checks for number 4. You have, sorry, let me give you green checks before I start the timer. Green checks for number 4. I'm going to go ahead and give you 20 seconds. Go, go, go. Hi, Kevin. Welcome to class. Go ahead and open up your assignment and then give me a green check. Oh, you already got it. Perfect. 10 seconds. All right, Jose, thank you. Carla, thank you. Moving on, everybody. All right, so again, there are only 20 amino acids, only 20 different side chains. But because each amino acid can be used multiple times, and because you can combine any number of the total amino acids together, this results in 80,000 to 400,000 different proteins that can be found in humans. So remember, if you take a look back at our brainstorm here, where we were talking about the 4 shirts, the 3 pants, or the 3 bottoms, and the 2 shoes. That's not a lot of components, but when you mix them together in different orders, in different types, you can end up with 24 different combinations. Now imagine, if you will as well, if you could reuse multiple things. So instead of just 1 Gryffindor shirt, you could wear 10 Gryffindor shirts, 3 pants, and 2 sets of green shoes at the same time. Then that would give you even more possible outfits, although you would look really silly. Okay, so you could get even more combinations if you could repeat some of these over and over and over again. So the same exact thing is true with amino acids. Because we can use each one several times, And because we can have any combination in total, and we could have a protein with 5 amino acids or a protein with 1,000 amino acids, you get tons and tons of different proteins. So again, 80,000 to 400,000, they're not even sure. We haven't discovered every protein. This is how many proteins we estimate are in a human. Go ahead and give me a rainbow if you understand. So only 20 amino acids can result in a bajillion proteins. Not really, but in a lot of proteins. Rainbow if you understand, because of how combinations work. Excellent. All right, so this is going to be number 5. Give me a green check when you have filled in the blank with the number 5. I'll give you 30 seconds this time. Green checks for number 5. Go, go, go.
All right, so if we take a look here, again, we have our individual amino acids, and those are the monomer, right? Amino acid is the monomer. It is the single component. Once you start getting multiple amino acids, multiple monomers together, now we start building up our macromolecules. So you can see that I have an amino acid here, right? It's made up of that nitrogen group, that carboxyl group, and that side chain and the hydrogen. So this is one amino acid. Here's our second amino acid, our third, and our fourth. All right, so that's 4 amino acids kind of linking together to begin building our macromolecule, our big molecule, which is our protein. So then if you continue to zoom out, you can see that this chain has a bunch of amino acids. This is what's called the primary structure. So the primary structure is just the amino acids connected together. At that point, there are attractions that occur between each of the different amino acids, and things begin to fold, all right, or begin to pleat, right? So they begin to make different shapes. So this is the secondary protein structure. So there's different bonds between the hydrogens of amino acids that cause this to fold in a very specific pattern, in a repeating pattern. So that is the secondary protein structure. So again, we start at the simplest, we begin to fold it, that's our secondary structure. And taking a look here, as you continue to move on, you get to a tertiary protein structure. So then things begin to really fold in on each other because of how the side chains interact, right? So remember we talked about how amino acids, right? So they have their carbon, they have their hydrogen, they have their NH3 group, their amino group, they have their CO2 group, the carboxyl group, all right? And then they have their side chain, which we represent as the letter R. Okay, so what we see here is that for the secondary protein structure, that's because of the interactions with the hydrogens. And the tertiary protein structure is additional folding that occurs because of the interactions between these side chains. So each amino acid has a side chain, and those different side chains can interact differently. They can attract each other, repel each other, et cetera, et cetera. And so that causes different folding here. And finally, we have the quaternary protein structure, which is when you take multiple of these tertiary protein structures and you put them all together. So as you put it all together, you come up with the final protein, and that is going to be your completed protein. Please go ahead and give me a rainbow a star in the chat box if you understand how we get from the primary all the way to the quaternary. Star in the chat box if you understand. Thank you, Kyrie. Thank you, Christine, Carla, Jose. Thank you for your participation. I see Ayla and Jennifer. Awesome. Great job, everybody. All right, so that's just kind of for us to understand how we get from our monomer all the way to our macromolecule. Let's go ahead and go over some examples of macromolecules. Again, I know that we've briefly gone over a lot of these already, but we want to go a little bit more in depth because this will be on your final exam. All right, so what you can see here is muscles are made up of 2 proteins. They're made up of actin and myosin protein. Okay, oops, sorry, myosin, spelled that incorrectly. Myosin. Okay, so myosin in this picture is represented in red, and actin in this picture is represented in blue. That's pretty standard for how we represent actin and myosin. So what happens here is myosin has this kind of weird looking head on it, and that head is going to actually hook onto the actin. And this requires some energy. It requires ATP energy, which is why, again, we need to eat glucose to make ATP so that our muscles can work, so that we can function. So what happens here is the myosin hooks onto the actin and then releases and then hooks on again and releases and hooks on again, basically like it's climbing a rope. And so what you can see here is that after it's done that several times, it goes from relax to contracted. So this is how you use your muscles. So every time you tense your muscles, that's a contraction, and that is the actin and myosin working together really, really quickly to kind of hook and pull, hook and pull, hook and pull in order to make your muscles contract. All right, go ahead and give me a thumbs up in the chat box if you understand how actin and myosin work together in your muscles. These are two proteins. Again, these are all examples of proteins. Thumbs up if you understand actin and myosin proteins working together to make your muscles function. Beautiful. All right, let's go ahead and talk about hair and blood. Also great. All right, so hair, you can take a look here. Hair is it's an interesting structure in your body. It doesn't have any living nerves in it, which is why you can cut your hair, but it's actually a pretty sturdy structure. So if you were to take a look at the inside of hair, you would see right here that you have a protein called keratin. So keratin protein is a structural protein, and this is found in things like hair. It's also in your nails. Again, think about things that have a lot of structure in your body. So your hair, your nails, this is found in spider webs, it's found in rhino horns, a lot of animal horns. So keratin is a very versatile protein that helps to keep the structures of your body structural, right? Helps to give them some sort of structure. Taking a look down here, blood has a really cool looking protein. Again, you should at this point understand that proteins have these different shapes. This is the quaternary structure because it's made up of 4 different types of proteins put together, folded together. And these 4 different proteins can carry oxygen. Sorry, they carry iron, and then together they can carry an oxygen. So you can see that there's some different chains here, an alpha chain, a beta chain working together. They require iron. That's why your body needs iron, because your blood needs iron in order to work in this hemoglobin. Again, this is the hemoglobin protein found in your red blood cells. And again, the purpose is eventually it's going to pick up an oxygen molecule. Sorry, I don't know if you can see that. Let me get a different color. It's going to pick up an oxygen molecule right here, and then it's going to carry it to the rest of your body. Your body needs oxygen. That's why we breathe. And so it's going to be able to carry that oxygen to the rest of your cells. That's the purpose of your blood. That's the purpose of breathing, is to get oxygen for every one of your cells in your body. Okay, let's go ahead, quickly give me a football if you feel good about this one. I am going to do a check for understanding on this in just a moment, so I know we're kind of speeding through them, but you will get a chance to practice. Thank you. I see a football from Jalen. Football if you understand the difference between keratin and hemoglobin. Thank you, Jalen. Thank you, Natalie. I see Kevin. I see Annette. Thank you. Perfect. All right, so the last type of proteins we want to talk about are for digestion. Now, proteins in digestion are actually called enzymes. Okay, so enzymes are just proteins used in digestion to break down foods. Okay, and you have a lot of enzymes in your body, probably more than we even know of, but let's go ahead and take a look at some of the main ones. So the first one is in your mouth. You have an enzyme, a protein called amylase, and amylase begins to break down starches. So remember, if you take a look back at our starting thing, we talked about starch, and there are 2 types of starch. There's amylose and amylopectin. So it makes sense that the protein that can break it down is called amylase, right? All enzymes end with this ase, all right? And so the first part tells you what it breaks down. So it's breaking down amyl groups, so it's breaking down amylose and amylopectin. So amylase breaks down it breaks down starches, okay? So it breaks down starches, begins to turn them into disaccharides. Pepsin is found in your stomach. Okay, so here is your stomach right here. And pepsin is going to begin to break down proteins into large peptides. It's also called protease. Again, that's that ACE right there. So protease means it breaks down proteins. So pepsin or protease breaks down proteins. In our small intestine, which is right here, small intestine, that has a lot of different enzymes in it. It has amylase, trypsin, lipase, a bunch of other ones that you can see down here, maltase, lactase, right? Lactase breaks down lactose. So amylase, again, is still breaking down. Oh, you no longer have a gallbladder. Yeah, sometimes the gallbladder is it's not necessary. So sometimes gallbladders do need to get removed if you have too many gallbladder stones or something. Yeah. So amylase is also found in the small intestine to continue breaking down starch. We also have trypsin, which continues to break down proteins, and lipase, which breaks down fat. Again, you can see that ACE meaning it's an enzyme, and that lipe standing for lipids. So it breaks down fat or lipids. Lipids, yummy. In our small intestine, we also have maltase, sucrase, and lactase. Again, all of those telling you what they break down. So maltase breaks down maltose, which is a disaccharide. Sucrase breaks down sucrose, which is a disaccharide. And lactase breaks down lactose, which is a disaccharide. So it begins to break these down and breaks them down into monosaccharides that will eventually be turned into glucose. Glucose is the most important monosaccharide. And finally, you can see right here that there is also peptidase. Peptidase breaks down dipeptides, which we got originally from our protease, our pepsin up here, and it breaks them down finally into amino acids. So, right, we talked about how proteins are made up of amino acids. Sorry, proteins from food are broken down into amino acids, and then your body takes those amino acids and builds up new proteins for your body, including the keratin for your hair, the hemoglobin for your blood, the actin and myosin for your muscles, and for these enzymes that you might need as well. So that is the whole purpose of your digestion, is to get stuff that you can use to build other stuff. All right, how do we feel about this? Go ahead, grab your whiteboard tools and match these up. What proteins do we find in muscles? What proteins do we find in hair, in blood, and in digestion? We talked about hemoglobin carrying oxygen, myosin hooking onto actin to cause a contraction, enzymes breaking down starch, proteins, and fats, and keratin as a structural protein. Thank you. I see Christine, Ayla, Ryan working. I see Annette working, Jose, Anthony, you're doing great. Thank you, Natalie. Awesome. Kyrie, Carla, great participation. Jennifer, thank you. Looking good. Let me go ahead and pause these tools, shrink these down, see what we got. Let's make sure we need to make any corrections, and this will be number 6 in your assignment, so make sure you have that ready to go in just a moment. All right, muscles. Yes, muscles are again made up of actin and myosin. The myosin hooks onto the actin over and over again, kind of like you are climbing a rope, right? So it's climbing the rope, and that causes the contraction. Hair is made up of keratin. Keratin is a structural protein, also found in webs, also found in hair, also found in your nails, in horns, etc., etc. Blood has hemoglobin. Again, a heme group has iron. That's why you need to eat iron. Hemoglobin helps to carry oxygen, and digestion, it has all those different protein enzymes that break down the food that you eat so that you can build up different proteins, different carbohydrates, and different fats. All right, this is number 6. Go ahead and give me a green check when you have this saved. I'll give you 45 seconds since this is a little bit longer. Go, go, go. Green checks for number 6. 25 seconds remaining. Jose and Kevin, 10 seconds. All right, Jose, Kevin. Thank you, Jose. Kevin, are you there? Kevin, green checks for number 6. Kevin, hello. Kevin. Thank you. Let's move on, everybody. All right, go ahead, submit that. Let me know how you did in the chat box. I want to make sure that there were no errors on the answer key or anything. So let me know in the chat box, how did we do today? We did all the answers together, so you should do really well. Awesome. Seeing lots of A's. Good. That tells me there are no mistakes on the answer key like the other day. Thank you. All right, so taking a look here, we talked about amino acids, how many there are, what they look like, their structure. We talked about how they make different proteins, and we talked about some in-depth examples and functions of those proteins. How do you feel about that? Go ahead and point for me up on the board. How are you feeling about today's objective? All about proteins and amino acids. Awesome. I see Anthony, Christine, Jalen working on the board. I see Ryan working on the board. Perfect. Annette up there. Awesome. Looks like most of us are over here. I can't tell who is specifically who, so if you do need help, let me know. Again, there are only 4 school days left of this trimester, and then this course is over. So if you need help, make sure you reach out and get help. All right, so today, proteins are made up of what? Go ahead and tell me in the chat box. Proteins are made up of what? Remember, focus on projects and exams. If you are not yet passing, that means if you have less than 60%, you need to make sure to finish projects and exams correctly. But in the chat box, everybody, what are proteins made up of? What's the monomer for a protein? I see Ayla participating. I see Christine participating. I need everybody to tell me in the chat box before I can let you go. What makes up a protein? Thank you. I see Christine. I see Carla working. I see Ryan working, Jalen and Ayla and Annette working. What makes up a protein? Again, make sure you participate even if you see the answer, because that helps you to reinforce your own learning, and your learning is what should be important to you, not whether or not everybody else has the right answer. Awesome. Yes, proteins are made up of amino acids. Let me go ahead and drop that up on the board. Amino acids. Great job. That's going to be your answer for your attendance today. I'm going to go ahead and send you the link to that in the chat box. Go ahead, start a new thread, and then answer that up there for me. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you later. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody.